What's going on, Habibis? I'm Siraj Hashmi.
I'm Jay Kobbe.
We're the Habibi Bros. Welcome to another Habibi Bros podcast. I'm trying to find our stream on locals. Am I high and or blind?
No, just retarded.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's on. I'm on.
You
right
see
now.
it?
Yeah.
Okay, then maybe
it started.
You know, this is what happens.
It says you're in the chat.
This is what happens when it's. I can't even see the stream though. This is what's weird.
Refresh your page.
Yeah, I'm doing. Oh, there we go. Whew. Sorry, giving myself a heart attack.
It's not the first rodeo. What do you think I am, Spencer?
It's your second. It's not your first rodeo. It's your second rodeo.
No, I've been doing local streams.
Shut your whore mouth, Jay. Habibis, welcome. We are very honored to actually bring a new guest onto the program tonight. Someone that I have done a lot of collaboration with over the last couple of years, and it just struck me that he might actually be wanting to join the show since the rebrand, because I'm sure beforehand, it'd be a tough sell to his bosses to be like, hey, I'd like to go on this show called Habibi Power Hour, where they get drunk and talk about the news. Oh, and also the stream countdown in the beginning is them wearing suicide vests, and the clock is ticking down to 0. Yeah, I can imagine that'd be a tough one for him.
Yeah, especially from Denver.
Especially from Denver, considering how, we'll let him explain. Without further ado, we're very excited to bring on Mandy O'Connell.
Oh, wow.
What's going on, Brandy?
Hey,
Brandy. Yeah.
Guys, it's such an honor, really, to be here.
It is an honor.
And it's because of you guys that I'm on the tourist watch list here in Colorado now. Jared Polis put me on.
We wouldn't have it any other way.
It's a very exclusive list, Brian, and we're very happy to have you on there with us.
So, Brandy, can you tell people who you are and what you do?
Yeah, I don't really matter that much, but I'm here in Denver, like you said. The station's behind me. It's 630 KHOW. It's one of 2 news talk stations in the building run by iHeart. And to your point on the various names, sometimes I get confused on my own name because I'm filling in for Mandy Connell. I'm filling in for Ross Kaminsky. I'm filling in for Dan Kaplis. I've been filling in for Leland Conway. And kind of bittersweet, Leland and iHeart parted ways. So the timing of this invite is appropriate in that I am now the host in that 2 to 4 slot. And with the reboot, well, peace out, Leland. Right? No, we're still in good terms and in touch and everything else. But love the Miami Vice reboot. That's what really turned the page for me, wanting to join the program. and no, big fans of your guys from a long time ago before I even knew you. And now I'm just really thankful to have the opportunity. Thanks.
Yeah. So can you tell us how big? So you live in a third world country, also known as Denver, Colorado, right?
Correct. Yes. That's.
Are you actually in Denver, or are you like kind of out in the outskirts of it?
Well, I'm in Denver right now, and there's a dividing road called Bellevue, and south of there is where I live in a town that's much nicer, and it sounds better, Greenwood Village, and it is nicer. So it's a suburb, but I'm in the city proper in this building here. So Denver's shithole. Can I say that on this podcast?
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
Absolutely.
We try to keep it family friendly, but in the context of cities, I think it's perfectly. I think it's actually lying to people in America to deny that a place is a shithole.
Right.
Like if you call it a crap hole, that doesn't really do it justice, right?
No, it doesn't.
Right. If President Trump can say it, we can say it.
Absolutely.
That's the standard right there.
And I think that the reason why it's turned more into a shithole than previously is because of how many Californian transplants you guys have had over the years. I mean, I think that was like one of the number one locations that Californians went to is Denver, Colorado, when they were escaping California.
If we would have gotten Californians like you, Jay, there wouldn't be as big of a problem. But you're right. These morons. Oh, no. He made the right move going to Florida is all I'm saying. But if he would have come here, he would have seen what I'm dealing with. And that is these moronic, idiotic Californians. They leave California because San Francisco and Los Angeles, also shitholes. And they literally have shit on the streets with the apps that showed where the shit is that Ron DeSantis showed in that debate with Gavin Newsom. And they're not quite doing that yet here, but it's coming. And they relocate here and they go, you know what? That didn't work in California. But if I keep voting the same way, the Democrats will make it work here. And they're not making it work here. It's an absolute disaster. We're getting migrants bussed in here by the tens of thousands from Governor Abbott in Texas. And we don't have the budget. We don't have the space. It's this whole sanctuary city thing where they announce it and they don't really mean it. They are virtue signaling it. They want us to look like xenophobic, racist assholes. But they look good and it sounds good in theory, but then once they're tested on it, this is what made Abbott and DeSantis such geniuses. They're in a world of hurt right now, budgetary wise, everything else. Our own homeless are suffering as a result. It's a mess.
Actually,
Right.
you brought up an interesting thing about the homeless. You shared something with us, a city council meeting happening in Denver.
Right.
Let me see if I can pull up a clip. Do we have the clip?
Yeah, it's in the rundown.
Do we have a producer that is available to pull up the clip?
Is competent. Well, this is not the actual clip, but it's the clip in what we were discussing, where this is a top
But I'm looking
immigration.
for the right clip. Though.
Right. But this is a good clip too. This is a top immigration official in Denver begging the immigrants to leave the city.
Okay, all right. Let's start off with that.
That's Andres Carrera, political director for Denver Mayor Mike Johnston.
Nueva York te da más, Chicago te da más. Entonces sugiero que vaya por allá, donde hasta también con un albergue de más largo plazo, también hay más oportunidades de trabajo por allá.
Carrera is Denver's so-called newcomer communications liaison. That means that he meets the busloads of new arrivals. The city says this group got here on March 26, sent up by Texas's Republican Governor Greg Abbott. He warns them the jobs, the resources, the opportunities have already gone to the 40,000 migrants who came to Denver before that.
Hemos recibido demasiados migrantes y por eso se acabaron los recursos. Mira, no te vamos a bloquear. Si quieres permanecer aquí, no estoy aquí para bloquearte. Estoy aquí para avisarte que tu camino no ha terminado. Si permanecen aquí, te vas a sufrir hasta más. Y eso no lo quiero ver.
Parents listen quietly as children play on the floor. As Denver tells these families that have sometimes walked from one continent to another that they just have to keep moving.
I mean, do we know that they're actually families?
Pause for Jay, but don't pause for me. Not the word.
No, he knows who to pause for.
Jay, you talk over everything.
Okay, go drink your milk.
I will.
Yeah. Your cream.
In my new Rumble tumbler.
Nice.
Oh, very nice. It's also from Yeti. Look, they didn't skip on it for you guys.
I mean, I'm not. Unfortunately, I'm still poor because I don't have a Stanley, but I'll take a Yeti.
Right.
Anyway,
But also,
so
I mean, you're not poor because you have so much cream money. It's insane.
it is pretty rich. Anyways, so this guy, he's a political director?
No,
Yeah.
he is the communication
Liaison.
Yeah.
For the mayor.
So everyone who saw that clip, you can follow along. But if you're only listening, he was basically saying, if you stay here in Denver, you will suffer more, and I don't want to see that happen. So they're literally trying to get these people out of Denver and onto other places because they're at capacity. They're oversaturated.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I've seen images and pictures that just in the streets of Denver, you have camps just laid out there in multiple areas in Denver itself. I mean, how bad has it gotten when you drive from your greener side to the shithole Denver?
Well, it was like that before the illegals came on the buses, Jay. We had a homeless problem.
Whoa. You can't say illegals around here.
Yeah, you say illegal aliens.
I'm going to call them illegals, okay?
Illegal aliens. They're illegal.
They're not sending the best. But it's true, unfortunately. We have a lot of remarkable legal immigrants here. They've opened up many restaurants. Most of them are Mexican, and they come up here and are hard workers. They contribute to the community. They pay taxes. And they came here the right way. And these are the people that I really feel for. My mom was an immigrant. She came here as a little 2-year-old baby in 1950 with her mom, and they were granted asylum from a communist nation, Yugoslavia. And as a precondition of my grandmother coming over here, she had to have a sponsor. That was her aunt in South Detroit, where Journey sings about. She had to have a job lined up. She got that. There you go. Right. She got that job with her aunt. She had, again, my baby mother there. and she had to become a citizen, and she did all those things. And she worked for many years on the assembly line for Detroit Diesel and General Motors. You know, there are hardworking immigrants here. I want to make that clear. But the immigrants that are coming here illegally, they're coming here illegally for a reason. And they don't have anything to offer, and they don't speak English. They don't have any skills per se. And that's what we're looking at in this group here. They're just coming here for a free handout. And now Sophie's choice that Denver has is, well, do we keep having to fund these illegals that are just pouring in, again, busload after busload, or do we help our own homeless, which, to your point, Jay, was already a problem in these tent villages all over the city of Denver and spilling over into Aurora next door. And it's just gotten worse with adding the illegals to the mix. And they never had the resources to handle this in the first place. I guess that's my biggest point here is it was all hat, no cattle.
Speaking of Aurora, that reminds me.
Borealis.
I was thinking more so, you know, that Aurora, Colorado, the site of the Dark Knight Rises shooter.
Oh,
remember that?
Oh yeah, that tragedy.
That's right.
Yeah, that reminds me of the other tragedy, 9/11.
9/11.
Another one. Yeah.
Another one. No, but
right,
if Spencer gets this clip up as well, you're talking about, like, they don't have enough resources for the homelessness itself. It's really amazing to watch officials talk about the death of homeless people as if it's
I don't think Spencer has it in him
nothing.
to share it. But I have it right in front of me.
No, it's right.
It's right here in front of me.
I put it in there for him.
Yeah, I know.
We put it in there.
But the audio comes so much better from mine. So
did you forget to turn on your audio?
I'm pretty sure the audio is shared. Yeah, it's definitely shared. Let's hear it.
All right, great.
Yeah, there you go. You can hear that, right?
Yeah,
test,
I got
1
it.
2 1 2. All right, I'm gonna full screen this. Just without any context, just watch this clip.
Mm-hmm.
All right, great. So the agenda that we have today, we are going to be getting a briefing and we have an action item.
We came to Denver City Council in search of answers. What we found were more questions from everyone.
What is the monthly cost on average for the hotel site?
Is 46 million needed? Was it needed for the first House 1,000 goal?
So we are looking at actuals of $75 million.
What did that mean,
Of
Jay?
course.
What'd you
You know who she looks like? She looks like that general from Star Wars.
Megan Rapinoe?
I don't think that's the general from Star Wars.
No,
She is now.
She is now.
Yeah, so
She's actually the most normal one there, by the way. Keep watching. Right.
Dollars in 2024.
We just need to see that. This feels really incomplete to me.
It's a simple question, really, or at least we think so. How much is the mayor's House 1000 homelessness initiative costing? We thought we'd find out at this presentation, titled House 1000 Financials. We didn't.
Our actual expenses in 2023 came in much lower than we had anticipated. Only 10.3 million were spent in 2023.
$10.3 million is the only real number the mayor's office can give for how much money has been spent so far. But we know more than $110 million has already been approved by City Council. So where's all the money going? We aren't the only ones asking.
Help me. 10.3 million doesn't make any sense.
That's
for the
literally
problem
10% of the budget
But,
that they were allowed.
Right. That doesn't make any sense that they're only like in California, for instance.
Okay.
I went to for context on here. So I was dating this Asian girl from Berkeley.
You didn't even have to tell me.
Oh, he
what
did.
type of girl it was. I already automatically knew it was Asian.
and she was from Berkeley.
Okay.
And of course I'm trying to get in there and all that kind of stuff. And it's the
Get
first
into
time,
Berkeley?
Huh? No.
It's a tough school to get into, Jack.
Not into Berkeley.
Equally
Into
as
her
tough.
pants.
Yeah, equally
Yeah.
as tough.
Her pants weren't really that hard to get into, but so we went as a date idea. She wanted to go to a talk in UCLA over homelessness that was happening in there.
Wow,
So
look at you, Jay, the bleeding
went
heart
there.
liberal to try to get some trim.
the most insane thing I was listening to when we were sitting there to talk about the homeless problem in California
All
and
right,
in LA.
hold on. What year was this?
This, I think it was, so I moved back in 20, I want to say like 2018.
Okay, so actually not too long ago, 6 years ago.
6 years ago, something like that. Maybe. Yeah, 2018.
All right,
Something like that.
yeah.
So we went to it, and they were talking about how they were the homeless problem in California is in LA itself is split between 5 different departments with their own budgets.
What?
Yes, I'm not even kidding. They were talking about their own budgets, and they were talking about how much they were spending, and then they were talking about how we were lucky that the increase wasn't as much as they were expecting year over year on homelessness,
Because they're all getting 5 different sets of statistics.
and all of them together, they were spending anywhere between $200 and $250 million a year on this.
Wow.
And they were talking about how it was amazing that for one homeless person, they're spending $5,000 a month for one homeless person in California, in LA.
I might as well pack up and move to California and become homeless.
Seriously, that's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm saying. For a fucking dingy
Hold on, Jay.
little
Language first language. Secondly, you were from California.
Yeah, I know. I wasn't getting paid $5,000
So why did you
a
become
month to be
homeless?
homeless. I should have.
You should have.
And I'm brown, and my name is Mujahid.
Yeah.
It would have.
That's a
It would have
triple
worked pretty
whammy.
well.
I mean, you also serve as a trans woman too from time to time, so that would have.
Only when I'm Fatima.
That's true.
And it's
So,
for the show.
anyways, is that all your story?
I
did you hold on? Were you successful?
no, I was.
Okay, good.
No, but it was like a hate fuck because
Oh,
when we were there,
language.
when we were there, I was asking them questions because they had a Q&A at the end of it.
Of
and
course
stuff.
you did.
So I was asking them questions. So I was like, so we're raising the budget and the homelessness is becoming worse. Why are you celebrating this? And then she's like, sit the fuck down. And they couldn't answer it like properly because they're just wanting to say like, well, at least it's not as much as we were anticipating.
Right.
At least it's not as much. And then
Like
and
they
then
set
I'm
the bar
so what
so
is
low.
the program? What is the program to get them off the street instead of just paying $5,000 every month for these people? Like, what are we doing to get them off the streets? Because I didn't hear anything
There's no solution
about getting them off the streets. The only thing they were talking about was like, oh, they're getting food from here, and oh, they're getting these type of tents, and oh, they're living their best lives, getting raped and murdered on the streets of LA.
Just having the ball.
Having a ball. I mean,
Painting the town red.
It's so sad, and it's probably the same story in Denver because you have
Hold
some
on.
reporters.
Let's get to that.
You have some reporters in LA that were actually who cared enough to talk to the homeless people, especially homeless women, and not one of them that they interviewed has said that they were not raped, that they didn't have some kind of STD over the course of being on the street. It is a horror story for all of these people. It is inhumane to keep them on the streets and just clap and say, oh, we're spending taxpayer money, not fixing anything.
Wait, when you say clap, you mean gonorrhea?
Yes.
Okay.
Let me understand and not be so shocked that you only spent $10 million.
The story that Next has been telling you about for days now has the attention of other cameras. Today, we also learned the vast majority of people exiting House 1000 shelters are leaving to be homeless again, go to jail, or even dying.
Do we have an idea of why we are seeing that 73% of the people who are exiting into a negative outcome?
So just want to start with talking about outcomes. We and our partners don't count deceased as a negative outcome. There are many reasons why people could...
I'm not sure I'm comfortable with that.
While the city doesn't count death as a negative outcome, let's say more positive outcomes seem hard to come by. Of the roughly 1,000 people who moved into hotels or micro-communities after living on the streets, the city's dashboard says only 21 have left with leases of their own for permanent housing.
How are we going to improve our outcome rate? Because, we're spending a significant amount of dollars, tax dollars.
Okay, so death is not a negative outcome, Ryan. Hold on. What's worse than death, Ryan?
Maybe what Jay was talking about. I mean, seriously, think about it. That might be how these wacko leftists look at this. So rather than get raped and get STDs like Jay's talking about, well, they just died and checked out, and that was a better outcome. I mean, that's the only way I could figure that, right? She stood there, you saw it, with a straight face and just delivered that. Like, well, we don't consider deceased a negative outcome. And even that council member with the Megan Rapinoe hair was like, oh, come on, no, I'm not buying that. But they were trying to sell that. I mean, that's what you get, guys, when at the Denver City Council, what you just watched there, it's a total echo chamber. It's all liberals. Some are further left than others. They don't think to question one another. They never heard a dissenting view in their lives. And then they stand up and deliver that kind of line. And it's as outlandish as it sounds. But to your point, Siraj, I think death might be a preferable outcome to the stuff Jay described, which is happening here in Denver too.
I mean, I'd much rather be dead in Florida than alive in Colorado.
Alive and homeless. Oh yeah, alive in general.
Alive in general in Colorado.
All right, I'm checking out.
It's so sad hearing it from states like Colorado and California because of how beautiful these states actually are. I mean, Colorado used to be like, from when I was in California, everyone would go to Colorado for vacation. They used to go there for the skiing. They used to go there for the nature.
For the weed.
Always, for the weed, until they didn't have to do that anymore in California. But even then, after the weed became all like, what's it called? Recreational and everything.
Right.
They were still taxed to oblivion. You would still go to your dealer for it.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Ridiculous. So Ryan, so besides this homeless problem we're seeing happen, and compounded with the illegal migration problem, does it feel super saturated in Colorado? Like, is it so saturated that's actually now humid and moist in Colorado?
You're talking about saturated with weed residue or what?
I mean, take your pick.
It's interesting because the divide in Colorado, I don't know if you can replicate it anywhere in the country. You've got Martina Navratilova living up in the mountains of Aspen and a whole bunch of other celebrities too. And that's what Jay's talking about, these mountain resort towns. They're totally detached from the reality of what we're dealing with here in the city of Denver. Then you have the Denver and Boulder liberals. It's like a diagonal kind of line drawn between the campus of University of Colorado, which is basically communist, in Boulder, and then the city of Denver, which again, it has brought in a mayor in Mike Johnston that was even worse than the last one. And it's all these, this happy horse shit of, we're going to make things better. We're just going to spend money. And you heard these city council members there, well, we're spending all this money. What are we getting for our investment? You get nothing for it. They're just pouring it down the shitter, and they're not making these people's lives better. You heard that, like only, what was it, a dozen or so people came out of this experience and had a lease of their own to move on with their lives. This needs to be a hand up, not a hand out. But these people are damaged. They need help. And I have compassion for these people. They have drug addictions. They have mental illness. Some of them have both. And they're not able to get back on their own feet. But if you're just throwing money at the problem, here's what they did, guys. This is so cynical and it's so dark. Mayor Mike Johnston had a deadline of like Christmas last year. He was going to get 1,000 homeless housed. Well, there's a trick to that. They could only stay there for like 2 weeks, for 14 days. And then they were churned out and they were just clicking a clicker. We got 1, we got 11, we got 37, all the way up till they got to 1,000 and got to 1,000. They didn't do anything for these people. They got housing for, like I said, 14 days. And in some cases, they're taking out these hotel rooms. Those hotels are then getting money from the state, our taxpayer dollars. They're displacing people that were maybe living in those hotels long-term who were actually working and trying to make ends meet, kick them out just to get these numbers churned through for a political score. That's all this was.
Yeah, it's pretty wild seeing what's happening right now, because now Mike Johnson, he's not the mayor who actually served under or during the COVID lockdowns. That was actually, I was thinking it was Johnson, but it was actually Michael Hancock. A lot of Michaels happening.
Yeah, that's true.
If you actually remember, Michael Hancock, he urged Denver residents to stay home during COVID lockdowns, and then went ahead and flew cross country to see family. So I'm not saying that this is like, Johnston is different from Hancock, but it's cut from the same cloth. Like, these are the hypocrites that basically will say, Republicans all want to ban illegals because they're inhumane and they're fascists and they don't want, they just hate brown people. But at the same time, like the only ones who are offering any solutions to literally any of these problems are getting shot down. And like Ryan, like, do you ever think people are going to wake up to what's happening in terms of they just keep like, especially in cities like Denver, but like blue cities around the country, do you think they'll ever just wake up and be like, what have we been voting for this entire time?
I think there's a little bit of that. It's not enough yet. But if you look at Chicago in particular, that city, they're turning on the Democratic Party. There are Black urban people who have voted Democrat their whole life. I just saw one, and she seemed like a very sweet woman who went to her first Trump rally. And she's all about it. And they're treating her great, and they're welcoming her in. But they're out of alternatives. They're out of answers. And that's a great point that you make, Siraj, because this is damaging the services, the funding for inner city, urban dwellers, those that rely on, the recreation centers for kids to go play ball. They're being kicked out so they could just literally put homeless migrants in there to stay. They don't have any solutions. That's a great point that you make, too. And it's only because Ron DeSantis shipped some of them to Martha's Vineyard. And you remember the woman with like the straw hat and the Jackie O sunglasses and the tear down her cheek, just one tear, not two. They weren't worth two, just one tear. And she's clapping for them as they got on a bus from Martha's Vineyard and shipped them the hell out to Cape Cod. These people with the lawn signs, in this house, no human is illegal. They are full of shit. They're virtue signaling frauds. They had no intention of caring about these people. And that means literally doing the work. They don't want to do the work, Siraj. They want to throw up a sign. They want to write a check. They want to make the problem just kind of go away, but it doesn't go away when it's on their doorstep. And that's what's happening here in Denver. And all these cities, I think they are finding out the hard way. And it's a little slow. They're not coming around too quickly, that their Democrat leaders have no answers for this. And it's only going to get worse.
Yeah,
Right.
it reminds me, before I kick it over to you, Jay, of all of the, instead of just like actually addressing the problems, they will just flip any argument, specifically focusing on, I think there was an article that was sent to us in the chat, HBH Productions, specifically like how climate change is affecting like Indonesian trans women. Like it's one of those things where like you can just literally blanket or put a band-aid on any problem by saying, we're not going to talk about homeless anymore. Screw the homeless. Let's talk about the Indonesian trans women.
Well, no, and to that point too, I mean, in the 2020 riots as well, when Minnesota was completely destroyed and you had people from inner cities come on and say like, I now have to drive 20, 30, 40 minutes to go to the nearest grocery store now because they destroyed my local Target. You had articles come out to say that property damage isn't violence. It's a form of protest.
Voting is a form of protest.
No, destroying property is a form.
Destroying property
is a form of protest to mask what these people are suffering from and feeling, because the Soro DAs of those cities, the mayors, the governors, the really leftist commie pieces of garbage that run these cities do not prosecute these kinds of individuals, mainly because it doesn't look good on them. I mean, they went after Kyle Rittenhouse because he was white.
Yeah.
While the other people destroyed businesses, put them on fire, destroyed the whole thing.
The crazy thing about the Kyle Rittenhouse saga is that they basically portrayed it as if he killed black people, and the only people that he actually put 6 feet under, one was a convicted sex offender, pedophile, and the other one was
excuse me, minor attracted person.
Sorry,
Hello.
Sorry, so insensitive.
How could you?
And the other one,
bigots,
and
right
the other
there.
one, and the other one, I guess, was like convicted of domestic violence. So,
and both were
white.
Exactly.
So,
but the media doesn't care about that. The media has somebody that they wanted to go after because they're too chicken shit to go after the actual perpetrators of what happened in Minnesota.
This is a good pivot here, Ryan, because you being a member of the media, first of all, before we get into the backstory of Ryan Schuiling, I'm sorry, Mandy. I'm sorry, Leland Conway.
Brian.
Sorry, Ross Kaminsky.
Brandy.
Sorry, Brandy. First of all, being a member of the media, how has your worldview changed? Your perspective on things changed just being part of this industry?
Great question. I think I've gotten a lot more subdued, and cynical would be a word, but just untrusting. Just a couple days ago, you had Wolf Blitzer, who I grew up watching this guy. I'm a little older than you guys. I'm a Gen Xer. I remember him anchoring the Gulf War coverage on CNN in '91. It was kind of state of the art at the time. It was first of its kind. And he was a trusted newsman, Wolf Blitzer. Then this asshole comes out and has a Republican with him. It's the only Republican panelist. I think he's from Kentucky. I'm trying to remember his name right now. And Scott.
Yeah, Scott something. He's really good too. Like he's like the only one when he's on CNN. He's the only one calling them out on their shit, basically.
The only one.
His name though, but
Scott
he has.
Tenorman.
No, not Scott Tenorman.
That was South Park.
No. But a doctored clip of Donald Trump talking about animals and calling illegals animals, and shouldn't this be condemned? It's such. Either he didn't do any work, which might be the case, or he intentionally subverted the context of what Trump was talking about. The guy who killed Laken Riley, and he knew it. He had to know it. And they're manipulating that very soundbite. And to me, it's always been like, I have issues with Donald Trump. I criticize him. I make fun of him. I love the Saturday Night.
Perfect.
The SNL sketch about his shoes with Shane Gillis was brilliant. He's a laugh. He's a funny guy. He's a very funny guy. You guys have made that point a lot. But if you have to invent things like that, I thought he was this existential threat to democracy. You should be able to just collect whatever he says out on a campaign rally, not doctor it, and present it to the public. Well, here you go. He's a total maniac. No, they have to doctor the clips to make it look worse than it is. So why are they doing that? And that, to answer your question, Siraj, it just makes me question everything. I've had, you guys are probably familiar with Stephen L. Miller, not the bald Trump advisor, but the podcast host. He's on Twitter, Red Steez. Great guy. He lives around here. He comes on my show a lot. Very smart guy.
Worked in the Trump administration.
No, now you're going the wrong way with that. But
and a tail.
You guys have a tail. I think you got to ask him that directly. But he's a tremendous media critic. He points these things out, and he's not even a Trump fan. He's one of these guys who's like, okay, you're making me defend Trump again. All right, now I got to go through with this. And yeah, the media has gotten so much worse, Siraj. I mean, I go back even 20 years ago when I was a grad student in college, and it was still kind of set up. You knew Fox News was right. You knew MSNBC was left, and CNN was probably somewhere in the middle. And it's like they've totally abandoned any pretense or premise of journalism on CNN. And it's sad. It's sad to me. It was a once great network. It's terrible.
Yeah, it is. I think 24-hour news really killed the journalism industry. And then, of course, the influx of all of these CRT graduates that are coming in and going into the New York Times, going into Washington. I mean, Washington Post is even worse with it. New York Times is just a building filled with anti-Semitic Jew haters. And it is, and you can see it time and time again with their reporting, how they get caught. To your point, also, when Trump was president, they cut his MS-13, talking about MS-13, how they are rapists and drug addicts and animals coming in, and they're like, oh, he's calling all immigrants animals, and it's like, no, sir, you are. He's calling MS-13 animals, and you are calling MS-13 all immigrants. Like you're the one who is trying to conflate immigrants with MS-13. He was being very specific on what he was calling animals.
Yeah. So every time I see a little column, I see like another iteration of him calling immigrant, like the reports about him calling immigrants animals. I'm like, didn't I just debunk this like 6 years ago? Are they still bringing that up? No, it's like literally every single time he mentions it, they have to trot out the same fake headline.
Right.
It's crazy.
I mean, it really took Trump. It honestly really took me coming back to the United States. So I moved back here. I want to say 2014.
No one cares. Illegally.
I was born in Oklahoma.
Also,
I was a
not
to-
not not
to
not
a white-
recognized as one of the states of disunion.
to a person whiter. Oh, actually, not whiter than your coffee. Nothing's whiter than your coffee.
That's pretty white.
Your coffee's pretty white. Oh, I just have to say this thing, right? It's really, I have to mention this about this guy's coffee. Okay, this guy.
Hold on.
This, I'm not even kidding. We would have a gallon of like whole whipping cream. He will use half of it. He will use half of it in his coffee. I'm not fucking kidding. I look at him.
First of all, Jay.
Into the thing, and I'm like, dude, just at least leave some so I can put it in my coffee.
Jay, first of all, one, language. Two, the 1775 coffee, which you should all buy. We have a promo code Coffee Bros.
Yes.
10% off.
It's really
Thirdly, I don't put half of it. I put the whole thing in.
You do. You can drink 1775 coffee black. It's that good.
Actually, is that
But Siraj is a little bitch.
like my men?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, exactly.
Anyways, so getting into your career, how did it all begin? Was it always a dream of yours to get into talk radio?
No. All the happy to say you have a great radio voice. So there's a couple of words we would like you to say.
Do you have them?
Yeah. So can you say kusmuk?
Well, you got to say it in like your sport, like the radio bumpers, like, no, the Dan Kaplan show.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Kusmuk. No idea what I just said, but I'm sure it was funny.
You just said your mother's pussy. But
wow, in a very emphatic way too.
You did. It was perfect. I'm gonna clip that and then just randomly say it
one more time. One more time without me interrupting.
So it's kus ummak. Kus ummak.
Kusmuk.
It's perfect. Also say it. So when you go, if you go to an Arabic restaurant or a Jewish restaurant, say it after they give you a meal.
You know what? Kusmuk.
Hey,
like that? Perfect. Like bon appetit, right?
Yeah.
It's as good as your mother's pussy, right? That's like.
So Ryan, so yeah, the Habibis agree you have a phenomenal. Some actually would say electric radio voice. How did it all begin for you? What did, first of all, to answer my first question, was it always your dream to get into talk radio?
No, not at all. I wanted to be, and I was kind of for a time, and I might be again, we don't know, a play-by-play announcer for sports broadcast. And that's really how it started too. I was a below average. What's that?
Baseball, I assume.
It was baseball. Yeah, there you go. But and I played baseball, but I tried to play basketball too. Not as well. I was a decent baseball player in high school, but
not the color, bro. Not the color.
Well,
yeah.
No,
he is
right.
Serbian.
Yeah, I'm Serb, so I got that going for me, Nikola Jokic style. But
like, what are the best? Can I just say that Nuclear Jokic is not getting his due for MVP?
Nuclear Jokic.
I love that he called him nuclear. I think that's amazing.
I mean, that's a great nickname.
He goes and plays. He goes nuclear. I mean, when you look at his stats, he's almost doing a triple double on average every time he's out there.
Well, he's definitely a runaway for the MVP.
Can we just like applaud that I actually know this shit? Thank you very much.
That's awesome. He's a freak.
Jay, you have a cheat sheet on your hand. You're like Joe Biden with sports.
No, it's because I have autoplay on my YouTube, and when I go to sleep, it just plays. So I was dreaming about Nuclear Jokic, and the reason why he's not in the talk about the top MVP.
What do you mean
for this year?
What do you mean he's a runaway? He's a runaway favorite to win the MVP.
No, he's like on 5th place. What are you talking about?
Habibi,
he's 5th place right now.
What drugs are you doing, and who is your dealer? Because I need some.
Wait, is Nikola Jokic the tall guy or the other guy on the Mavs?
The 4'9" guy, the guy who's 4'9"?
No, the guy on the Mavs.
On the Mavs, that's Luka Doncic.
Okay, Luka Doncic. Yeah, that's the guy I'm talking about.
Oh, okay, yeah. He is a little underrated. That's true.
Actually kind of racist.
No, he's very, very
confusing
underrated.
All Serbs look the same. It's true.
They really do. They just have height differences.
Oh my God,
it's true.
But Nikola Jokic is amazing to watch.
Okay, back to you, Ryan. Back to you. Your career in media, you always want you You played a little basketball. You played a little baseball.
But so this was literally a religious experience. Ultimately, what happened was I'm about a sophomore in high school. It's 1990. I'm JV. We played our game. I'm sitting in the stands, and one of my classmates is taking a video with those shoulder-held kind of VHS cameras back in the day of the varsity. And I just started kind of messing around, doing some commentary and play-by-play. And then the varsity coach pulled me aside. He goes, I don't know if you were joking around or whatever, Ryan, but you're actually kind of good at that. Did you want to do that for the videos? And I'm like, well, if I do that and I say something, I criticize this senior whose name's Stu Strahan, and he looks like 45 years old at age 17. He's got a full beard like you used to have, Siraj, and he's kind of a scary guy. So I decide, all right, I'll do it. Then I started doing like some public address announcing, same thing. And I was a decent cross-country runner at one meet. I get done. I ran pretty well. And one of the local reverends in town from one of the churches, he comes right up to me and he said, Ryan, I got to let you know you've got a gift. God gave you a gift with that voice, and he wants you to use it. And that's what you should do. And I'm like, when you have a religious figure like Reverend Carmody was at that point, just come up randomly and tell me that. I'm like, this is a sign, right? That's like an omen. And I'm like, I
was scared you're going to say that come up and touch you randomly. Sorry.
No, he wasn't a Catholic priest. Wait a minute. Oh shit.
I'm really happy it was that.
No, he touched my shoulder. I don't think that's harassment though.
That's basically first base for
it kind of was. I felt a little violated as a matter of fact. Experience. I might pull an E. Jean Carroll. It was about the same year and then go back and sue him now. But I think he passed away though, and that's kind of sad. But seriously, from that point forward, it was just kind of my focus of doing something with that, and I preferred play-by-play announcing. And then I kind of got dragged into this like Michael Corleone in Godfather 3. And it was an opportunity. I had something flame out back in Michigan. I was offered this job here in Denver and was really just producing shows, kind of like your guys there. And I said, you know what? I can hit reboot. I can start over. We'll see what happens. And, lucky for me, things have fallen into place over these last 5 years leading up to, joining you guys here tonight and having my own show as of 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, congratulations on that, Mandy. Very, very proud of you. Very exciting too.
Yeah. Right.
And honored that
I expect to get invited.
I was the first guest to be on that show.
And I expect to be invited.
I was the first.
Now that's the thing. Now, Jay, I'm glad you said that because I've had Siraj on a bunch of times and not you. And I don't want you to feel bad, but you gotta watch the language, like Siraj has been warning you about on this. But
Jay,
I think.
Are you ready for prime time, Jay?
I can do it.
You think you can do it?
You know what? We're going to do it next week then. You're going to be on next week. If you're available.
Look at that. Jay getting his first radio interview.
I can't wait to talk about nuclear Jokic.
Please do. Our audience will like that, seriously. And especially if you call them nuclear, they're going to totally love that.
I'm so down. So
that's enough.
Yeah, the Serbs have taken over the NBA.
Yeah.
It's so funny because like I do watch a lot of these little podcasts and clips where you have other NBA players are so enraged that nuclear Jokic is doing so well because he's a white guy. Like they honestly just say it out loud, and it's like, holy crap, dude! Just
look at that. Look at that.
Yeah, he filtered himself. He knows.
Do it.
I'm pretending this is like an interview right now for the.
Well, it is an interview, Jay.
It's the first question you're going to get is about nuclear Jokic.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
That'll be good.
So, well, I mean, besides obviously your sort of gift that you received from God, obviously. I was going to say, maybe. Well, Jay's an atheist, so I guess I didn't want to hurt his feelings. The big lib that he is.
Wait a minute.
What?
There are conservative atheists out there. I was having a discussion with another conservative atheist out there too, and it's kind of weird.
Who's the other conservative atheist?
There's one other one.
Name dropping right now.
Well, you bring this up yourself, Jay.
Yeah, I know, but sometimes when you are discussing things in like DMs or you're discussing
it was a
things
DM.
and stuff,
all right.
Yeah, you don't
name drop.
So and it was just discussing that there's a lot of things that the Christians, or not just that, the very religious on the right have co-opted. And one of them is contraceptions. And I think we lose a lot of people because they want to talk about how the birth control pill is like from Satan himself. Like they go that far. They go and
like
they talk
Satan
about
hands it to you if you need it.
Like it was developed by Satan.
Is dispensed by that's the new pharmaceutical company, Satan's
dispensary. Saint Inc.
Saint Inc.
And some other things, especially when it comes to like abortion and some and other areas, they could use a little bit more of a view outside of their
faith,
narrow-mindedness.
Well,
because I don't even think it's in faith where there are some things in abortion.
And this is when we lose all of our sponsors.
But I'm just saying, like there are some aspects in contraceptions and in conceiving that I don't think that a lot of people on the right are right over, especially people who adhere to like what Charlie Kirk says about these issues and stuff like that as well, which is being co-opted mainly on the right. The movement moves with where people are funneling money and the donors are funneling money. And the problem is that they're funneling money in places like Charlie Kirk because he gets clicks and he gets, people listening to him and stuff. And for the movement, that is wrong. That's like listening to one of those TV Christians, Joel, whatever his and stuff. Like they are they're grifting rightists. Candace Owens.
Oh God!
Kirk, like these people are like complete grifters that have co-opted saying Christ is king when they don't mean it.
No.
Well, yeah, Ryan, what do you feel? How do you feel about that when you kind of see this rhetoric play out, particularly on social media? Like, do you ever get a sense that like people like, is there any genuine figure on the right who actually means what they say and seems to be a devout person of faith?
I'll just like to shout out Matt Walsh is one that I believe he honestly believes.
He's like the only person I believe who.
And Michael Knowles, I do believe both of them, like truly believe. And then Jerome, like all the Christians in Daily Wire, like the main figureheads.
Did you say Jerome?
Is it Jerome? No, it's not Jerome. It's Jeremy.
Jeremy. Boring. Yeah, Jeremy.
Jerome boring.
Jerome.
Jerome now.
I'm saying Jerome because of your what's it called? Because of your daughter's plaything is Jerome.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. Racist.
I'm sorry.
I would say you guys are so on the money though. There are so many grifters on what I would consider to be our side, and what I mean by that is, you guys are legit. You're not Christians, of course, but I mean like the center right,
condemned to hell.
But the center right movement and the truth tellers, right? That's how I would phrase it. And the very criticism I lofted at Wolf Blitzer and the left, and it's abundant on the left. There are a few on the left, not many, that I would say, you know what? That's an honest broker. That's a person that's a true believer. I disagree with that person, but I respect that person. I would say David Axelrod might be an example of that on CNN. But on our side, I've never liked Candace Owens. I've never understood why Candace Owens was a thing. I never understood why Daily Wire and that entire outfit was trying to make Candace Owens happen, like Fetch in Mean Girls. She's not going to happen. She's a sophomoric intellect. I could go on for a long time because she's dishonest. She could say she's a late converter, but it wasn't that long ago. She was, and she talks about this, about how she was protesting for liberal causes. Or she was on Joe Rogan saying that she was not a Christian. She was not that religious at all. Look it up. Don't take my word for it. She was kind of agnostic, maybe even where Jay was a little bit. And then all of a sudden, this Christ is King stuff, that really offends me. And I'm a Christian because you're using that as a cudgel. It's not because you think Jesus is Lord, etc. No. She was doing that specifically as a cudgel to use against Ben Shapiro. And I would put Ben in the category you guys are talking about with Matt Walsh and Jeremy Knowles, but as a Jewish true believer, he says what he means. He researches his takes. He is the exact opposite of Candace Owens. And I think it was a disgrace that Daily Wire hired her in the first place. And Siraj, you and I talked about her not that long ago when you came on with me. And I think there's just this, and I'm going to sound like Rush Limbaugh with Donovan McNabb here, and might get me fired, I don't know. But there's this urgency from our side. Oh my God, she fills the silos that the liberals accuse us of not filling, meaning she's a black woman and she's a conservative. So holy shit, we've got to promote her like way above and beyond what she really earned in that moment. And I'm not saying that there isn't, somebody in that space.
No one confirmed DEI hire by.
You know what, Jay, you're not wrong. You're on the other side. We've got to avoid trying to think that way. We have to disavow that entirely. And
in
Candace,
Daily Wire, they need to change the spelling from DAI to DEI.
Oh, I like that. Yeah. But for instance, I'll throw out, and I hate the silo. I hate defining myself by race or gender or anything else. But it was somebody like Condoleezza Rice, okay? Brilliant woman. She's been president of Stanford. She's been on the college football playoff committee. She has been Secretary of State. She's an accomplished person. Somebody like that, she happens to be a black woman, but yeah, she's a very strong voice because she's a strong voice. When we start elevating people and playing the DEI game and using affirmative action to boost people that really haven't earned it and definitely don't deserve it, I just don't think Candace Owens she never did anything, guys, in the public space where I would go, wow, that's a really deep thought. That's a really good point. I got to take notice of this person. She's an up and comer. But guys, she had so many people fooled. I mean, people that listen to my shows that are strictly conservative shows, like, oh, I think Candace Owens should be vice president. I'm like, are you high? Are you nuts? Absolutely not. She is the worst. She's terrible. The best thing that Jeremy Boring and Ben Shapiro and Daily Wire ever did was cutting ties with her. She's a disaster.
I believe that too.
It's one of those things where, like, as much as conservatives and people on the right try to get away and they criticize this whole concept of identity politics, they are just as equally likely to fall victim to it, as evidenced by what we're just talking about. So
right. And honestly, I think it's like my upbringing in the UAE and Lebanon and stuff. Like I could figure out when religious leaders and religious people are being completely fake on what they're doing. I mean, there's a concept like where a lot of people on the right like to throw around like taqiyya and all that kind of stuff. Yes. And it's not taqiyya, it's taqiyya.
Tequila.
Yeah, there you go. That's the one.
So where it is a lie about your faith or a lie about your religion. And I feel you can see this happening with people like Charlie Kirk and with people like Candace Owens, because I don't want to just like single out Candace Owens. I know she's like the big topic of what's going on with all of this stuff, but I think people like Charlie Kirk is a very big one too. I like to say that I have a very good instinct when it comes to people talking about their religion and like what's in their heart, because I know like in Islam and stuff, it talks about like you never know a person's true intentions. Like only God can know a person's. So luckily, since I don't believe in God, I know the true intentions of some of these people, and I feel like giving the benefit of the doubt when it comes to those certain things puts you at a disadvantage. Because you're giving this person a one up on you, because you're saying I'm giving this person the benefit of doubt that their faith is real when they're faking it to get your money, to get an advantage on top of you, to win an argument, any of that kind of stuff. Like when it comes to Israel and her rhetoric against Israel and like talking about Israel, she'll say some like outlandish things. She'll talk about how Jews are drinking the blood of Christians. She'll like those comments. She'll do all of those things, and then when she's called out on it, she says Christ is king. So I'm sorry.
Yeah,
doing those things and then going back on something like that. It's like when you watch the Hamas people who are saying Allahu Akbar when you see the raping and the killing that was happening October 7th and then go and pray. Like that's exactly what the leaders did in that video.
And
from right there.
The one thing I'll say, and I think it's relevant here, is the reason I was trying to avoid Candace Owens, okay, almost entirely. But she did an interview that I thought was interesting because she got called out. And to her credit, she put this comedian musician, Ami Kozak, on. You might remember this, where she was spewing all this bullshit about Israel, about she went to Israel and a rabbi told her these were the slums and that's what she believed. I mean, her view of the world, again, I cannot criticize her enough, is so simplistic. You just heard Jay spell out a very nuanced and detailed analysis, an accurate analysis of what religion is and what it's not and what people use it for. Candace Owens walks in and it's like a degraded, derivative version of Tucker Carlson going, I'm just asking questions. Well, you can't do that. You can't just show up, spout off, throw out this stuff that's very damaging, make assumptions, jump to conclusions. You get the jump to conclusions mat out from Office Space, and you jump to a conclusion. Ami Kozak went on with her and totally schooled her, totally put her in her place. He did it very respectfully, and I was very impressed. I had him on with me, Siraj. I think it might have been the same show, one of them that you were on with me. And he was very generous. And to Jay's point, and this is so important, he was overly generous in extending benefit of the doubt, because I agree with Jay. I think she was malicious. And then Ami comes in. He's trying to have a productive conversation. He told me that, but he was far more knowledgeable. You could tell. He did his homework. He lived it. He's been in Israel. He's talked to all these different people. She based her conclusion on one conversation with a tour guide on one trip to Israel. And then she made all these generalizations based on that. She's horrible. She's terrible. And I hope nobody else hires her. She's absolute cancer.
There's a saying for that when you generalize an entire group of people based on like a single impression. What is that, Jay? You're supposed to know this since you are one. Racism.
Since you are one.
Hey, I'm not racist. You know why?
What?
Because I don't turn my coffee white.
Oh.
Wow, Jay.
Yeah, that's a hit.
Do you have any coffee left in your Yeti?
No.
You downed it? I was going to say, like, try, because, like, I'm drinking rum coffee. This is like pure black coffee.
Oh, is it that Wicked Dolphin?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's pretty good, right?
Oh, I got to try that.
Yeah.
No, it's good.
Oh,
it's
we'll send you a bottle, Ryan. If I can find it.
Yeah, I know. I've searched for it. I don't know if we can find it. I don't even know where.
I mean,
you guys
they got a spot. This rum distillery down in Coral Gables, Florida. If you ever come down here, Ryan.
Yeah. Oh, I'll be there. That was another thing, real quick. I wanted to say is, you guys are down there, and I've told Siraj this. My best friend, he's like a brother to me. He lives in Largo on the St. Pete Peninsula. So next time I'm there, we're getting together. Yeah. That's happening. We're getting stone crab. Although, wait a minute. Siraj, do you eat shellfish?
Of course I do. I'm not Jewish.
No, wait a minute. Hold on. What about, but hold on. I'm trying to learn here. Is that halal or haram, or is there a problem there with shellfish?
Seafood is halal.
All seafood is halal. Yeah. The only thing that is haram is anything with paws and claws and
pork.
Yeah. Okay.
Which I've indulged in from time to time, specifically paws and claws.
Oh yeah, that Asian place that we go to eat at.
Exactly.
Yeah. Paws and claws.
Yeah.
That's actually cat.
So, hey, you are what you eat, and I'm pussy.
Wow. Oh, wow.
So,
wow. So wait a minute.
Jay eats nothing but donkey.
That is absolutely true.
So wait, stone crab claw. It's a claw. You could do that though.
No, claws as in like animal, like
a mammal. Yeah. Okay.
Bear mammal and stuff.
Yeah, I got you. Okay.
We are gonna shift over to our supporter only part of the program. So if you haven't already signed up for our locals, we actually have a promo code. One of us. Well, you actually could be one of us. We get 3 months off the annual subscription, just a trial, or you just join us, hang out. And then we're gonna put the full audio and keep the full video on our locals. So if you want to go back and listen to it, you can do it there. So for the for the people who are watching this for free, thank you so much for joining us. We will see you next time. Say thank you to Ryan, even though he's going to be hanging with us for a little bit longer.
That's right. Yep.
Peace out.